This video will walk you through using your calculator to find measures of variation. Please know that all of the steps are given in the left side as well as representative calculator screens on the right side for the printed version of your lecture notes. One point worth mentioning is on this page right here, you'll see that the directions split off into two categories. On the left side here, we notice the directions for using this version of the calculator operating system. On the right side is for the older version of the calculator operating system. For this example, the following is a simple random sample of student weights in pounds. Find the range, standard deviation, variance, minimum usual value, and maximum usual value. First thing we're going to do is go into our calculator, stat, and edit, and make sure that we have the list of data stored into one of our lists. In this situation, I've entered into advanced time, L1, where the data values are stored. We're going to go into the stat feature next, and once again, over to the calculate submenu by pressing the right arrow key. Then we're going to use one variable stats, and we'll make sure that we tell what list we're going to use, whether we use this new operating system that you see here, or the old operating system that I mentioned before. And then we'll go through and calculate. As we calculate here, we see the mean, and also we can go through and see our median, min, and max that we were using before. Now, we're going to use this a little bit differently here. We're going to still use this output screen, but we're going to deal with it for the measures of variation. Please notice here that I did give a summary of the output that you see here on this one variable stat screen to make sure you're aware of what each one of those represents. First, we'll go through and find the range as we were indicating. To find the range, you notice I scroll all the way to the bottom of the output screen and we see the maximum data value and the minimum data value. So the range formula, which you must memorize, is maximum minus minimum. We do that subtraction and we put our units at the end, 121 and 4/10 pounds. Now please understand here, there is no symbol that you use to write range, but you do need to make sure that you use appropriate units. Standard deviation is next. We'll scroll back up for that. We notice that there's two outputs here for standard deviation, an S followed by an X and a sigma followed by an X. Now the S followed by an X is for a sample data set. The sigma followed by an X is for a population data set. Folks, our calculator doesn't know if the data we just gave it was from a sample or a population, so we have to pick the appropriate one. Since the original problem did indicate this was a sample, we're going to use this output, the 52.93, and it continues on. Now remember, we're going to round to one additional decimal place beyond what was in the original data. So as you see, I scrolled back up here to the original data values, and we see each one of the original data values has one decimal place. Therefore, we're going to round our final answer to 52.94 for the two decimal places. Now please know that there is an appropriate symbol, lowercase s, 52.94, and don't forget our units of pounds. Now for variance, we're going to have to memorize the formula. The variance is to square the standard deviation. Instead of going through and writing this entire decimal number down and squaring it, instead I'll use in the built-in variables feature. So I'm going to be walking you through these next few steps. So we're going to press the variables key. We're going to go to option 5 for statistics. And remember, the standard deviation that we want is stored under SX. So let's select option 3. And then press your square button. Remember, variance is standard deviation squared. And this is going to square that entire decimal number so we have as precise of an answer as possible. Again, the rounding rule is 2 decimal places. And we see here our variance. The proper symbol is a lowercase s squared for sample variance. 2,802 and 3/800 pounds squared. Last but not least, let's walk through the minimum and maximum usual category. Now we will need to memorize those formulas, which is the mean minus 2 standard deviations for the min usual, and the mean plus 2 standard deviations for the max usual. Again, the steps here are printed for you in advance, and I'm going to walk you through those right now. So we're going to go through and we're going to go back into our variables feature. We're going to go to statistics, and then we need to find our mean, which is right here, option number 2, the mean, and then we're going to type in minus 2, and then our multiplication symbol. Now we'll go back into variables, statistics, And remember, our standard deviation for the sample is under option number 3. And we'll hit enter. We'll do this step one more time with a plus sign. Oops, I apologize here. Variables, statistics. We'll go into the mean, number 2. This time plus 2 times variables, statistics. And remember, our standard deviation this time is under option number 3. We'll hit enter. And we now see our minimum and maximum usual. Now, there is no rounding rule for min and max usual, so I'm going to be telling you what to round those to on any assessment. So as you see here, I rounded these to 41.1916, and don't forget your units of pounds, and 252.9417, and don't forget your units of pounds.